Broadcasting from an undisclosed location, from a secret hunting spot known only to him, and the guy who told him about it, and possibly the guy who told him. It's the show all about hunting in New Zealand and around the globe. This is The Hunting Show. Now here's your host, Stephen Spargo.
For the first time ever, we've had responses from both hunters and non-hunters, thanks to the ABC for that great audio we played last week. And yes, it was probably a little bit of a lazy show, but guess what? That's life. And I thought the content of what we played was compelling enough to use it. And the interesting thing is the feedback that we got from the public. It was from a lot of people that really thought they understood hunters and thought that it was a blood sport, and maybe that interview had helped turn them around just a little bit, or that segment, courtesy of the ABC there. I'd like to ask you again, do you think, and this comes from that interview, but do you think that hunters and vegetarians actually have something in common? And when I mean vegetarians, we're talking about people that don't like the killing of animals. And I suppose what last week's show highlighted is maybe what they have in common is the fact that they think about their food. They think very hard and very ethically about what they eat and how they get it. And I suppose where I'm going with this is hunters probably don't think of it that way. And I don't think vegetarians think about it that way, or people that don't like the way that hunters acquire the food that they eat. And it brings me to another subject, and I wasn't going to touch on this, but this young cheerleader from America who has been absolutely bollocked online for trophy hunting. And, well, not all of her hunting was trophy hunting. Some of it she was using tranquilizer darts and bits and pieces. And I wasn't going to touch it. I was going to stay well and truly away from this because, to be fair, I think it's media hype. A beautiful young blonde just after she had shot a lion. Look, I'm not going to get into trophy hunting and whether it's ethical. I'm not going to get into whether what she did was ethical. But I suppose I just wanted to bring up, do you think the media's hype in this has made this something that it's not? Do you think what she did was worth all the attention you've got? If you haven't seen it, just search #hunting on Facebook. It's almost dominating the hunting feed on both Twitter and Facebook. It's also been on some TV news in New Zealand as well as Stuff. I just want your thoughts. I don't want to make a big deal out of it. I'm not going to do an entire show on it, and I have been asked why I didn't cover it, so I thought I'd better. Do you think that big game hunting in places like Africa is wrong? And I've seen some footage from guys that are hunting animals that have been bred for that purpose. And the interesting thing is some of those game parks, although they're breeding animals solely for the purpose of hunting, they do release a few to make sure that the wild numbers are up there. And is it an ethical way to fund conservation projects by having behind closed fence hunting, very wealthy people going forward and doing that? I don't know. I truly and honestly don't have an opinion. I'm not just being on the fence for the sake of radio. I would like to know what you think. I personally, if you had the opportunity, actually, before I tell you what I would do, if you had the opportunity to go to Africa, hunt a lion in a captive game park that was bred purely for that purpose, would you do it? As hunters and as people that enjoy our craft, would you do it? I've asked a few people this just in my work life, and I've had about a 50-50 response. Hell yeah, I'd give that a go. Particularly, what's the difference? And one comment was quite valid. What's the difference between a lion and a cow? Others were just like, no, doesn't feel right. And interestingly enough, none of them could explain it. The other thing I've noticed online, and speaking of online, and this is what I love about social media, is the amount of New Zealand hunting Facebook pages, Twitter feeds, other Google Plus for that matter, all of these great social media forms where hunters are starting to come together, and I suppose the sharing of information is really interesting. I find the ability to go on there, chuck onto a forum somewhere, the New Zealand Hunting and Shooting Forum, I really enjoy that. I can go on there, say, what do you think of this hunting spot? Most people are a little bit cagey, but the odd one will come forward and give me some really good information. Now, one group I not stumbled across, I was well aware of, was the New Zealand Wapiti Foundation. Joined on the phone by Roy Sloan, President of the Fiordland Wapiti Foundation. How's it going, Roy?
Yeah, no, good and a lovely, cool Southland day.
It's been pretty cool where I am as well. Roy, first of all, you're current president of the Wapiti Foundation. How long have you had that job?
Gee, Yeah, good question. Probably about 5 years, 4 or 5 years. Too long.
Yeah.
Too long.
Now, can you tell me, first of all, what's your background? What do you do? How did you get into this?
So background is in hunting background or...
Your background in general. We'll get into the hunting stories later on.
My background is I work for a farming-based business or New Zealand-based business in Southland, and I guess my introduction to Fiordland was 30 years ago. So I've always had a bit of a love for the area, chasing the wapiti.
Yep. Now,
Yes.
there's a really good story to how wapiti got into the South Island.
Into George Sound. Yes, They released there in 1905. Bull and few cows were dropped off way back when some great person introduced these lovely toys to New Zealand for us to play with. So bull and several cows, and they flourished from there.
Now, wasn't there a story where they almost, and I might be wrong here, but they almost died off and then some more were introduced? Is that right?
Yeah, well, the original story was there was a bull brought into New Zealand in around Dunedin area, and it was a let go. And that, ironically, that was one of the first bulls ever shot in New Zealand. But there was a couple of... This was really the only decent crack at bringing them into the country was back in there. They were a gift from President Roosevelt, who was the President of the United States at that current time.
Right.
Yeah, so that's really... a few fell over at sea and died, but I guess I'm not too sure what you're alluding to by the other story.
I might be completely wrong, to be honest. It might be just a legend that someone told me. Now, why did the Wapiti Foundation come together in the first place?
I guess Wapiti Foundation is a little bit different than the New Zealand Deerstalk Association and organisations like that who are really there as shotgun effect over all hunting places and things, whereas Wapiti Foundation was set up really only to concentrate on the wapiti herd in Fiordland, which is probably the most controversial herd of animals in New Zealand. It's gone through all sorts of booms and busts over the years, and so Fiordland Wapiti Foundation got themselves together quite a few years ago now, about 20 odd years ago, and set up to concentrate on the wapiti alone. So they ticked along for a while, and to be fair, I didn't get involved until about 12, 13, 14 years ago when the review of the Fiordland National Park was come about. So every 10 years, national parks are reviewed. So it's the management and what might happen in that park for the next 10 years.
Yeah.
So when they reviewed it, part of that was they removed any acknowledgement or anything of the wapiti herd in Fiordland. So at that time, they were going to be treated like any other species in New Zealand, so they could be shot by wild animal recovery or you name it. They were just another animal, basically. So I got involved back then. It was a political scrap.
Like many scraps?
Yes, it was, and it managed to get just about the whole Southland community behind us.
Great.
At that time, yes. Anyway.
What makes wapiti so controversial?
I guess if you stand back and look at the wapiti animal in the south, the biggest set of antlers in the world. Two is where they are. You know, if you become a wapiti hunter, you hunt the Fiordland. I mean, to me, it's a package. If the wapiti were in the Air Mountains or somewhere else in Southland, I probably wouldn't worry about them. They have a lot like most other people, but they're in that fantastic bit of country that bloody test your spirit, test everything, and she's put the package together, and it's like nothing else on earth, really. It's like hunting the Amazon on top of the Himalayas.
What would you say to people that say the wapiti shouldn't be there, they're not native, and they probably deserve to be eradicated?
Yeah, I guess. Ironically, I was talking to some people on the other side of the fence today, and one of the things was brought up was that same same question. And I guess the answer to that is these animals are introduced. Fair enough. Also, we have indigenous species of birds and everything else that, they should take number one in the country. I agree with that myself. But the bottom line is we're not going to get these things out of Fiordland. They're there. If managed correctly, we can manage them so that the fauna and flora, both and their indigenous species, can coexist in there. So we've got the best of both worlds. I mean, shit, the buggers are here now.
Yeah.
Put it this way, I'd love to be fighting their battle because it's a native species, but we've got an introduced species, and they have a valid argument at the end of the day. But it's about recreational and well-being as well for us hunters. Where
I live in the central North Island, there's a massive economic benefit for having hunting in this area, particularly where I am in Taupō, which is sika. Yep. And people come from all over the world to hunt sika here. Is there a tangible economic benefit down where you are with having wapiti available in the wild?
Yeah, I mean, we get influx of people from particularly Australia hunting the wapiti. And certainly other aspects, I mean, we did an economic study for Tianao a few years ago when we all started. And I think at that time there was on average, about 300 people a year wanting to hunt the wapiti, which it really had plummeted because of the species decline and all sorts of other stuff. And back then, I can't name figures, but there was quite a huge economic benefit to Tianao and Southlands. But now that has increased 100%. And the popularity of the wapiti has really, in the way we have, marketed the whole thing, we have changed the face of hunting in New Zealand as well, and that's a huge benefit to the country. I mean, once upon a time, hunting in this country was a little teapot industry, but now it's as a whole, and we've been probably key to that, is bringing millions of dollars into the country. So it's just a changing game.
Oh, absolutely. And one thing I'm loving about our sport is that it's going from being this thing that not many people talk about, that's kind of in the background, to being something that is acceptable to do. Hunters are great information seekers because their sports always seem to be a little bit underground. But it really, with great things like some of the TV shows, we've got the Hunters Club, and we've interviewed Dave Shaw from the Hunters Club a few times on this show, and the footage that he's coming up with, I think that hunting's only going to get stronger and stronger. And I suppose it's important for your part of the world to get its slice of that pie.
I mean, the key to our survival is popularity.
Yeah.
I mean, our number one, I mean, be great for us. I mean, 20 years of balloting for the Wapiti blocks, I never missed a ballot because the numbers were low. It was great. Loved the place. I was there all the time. And now, necessary evil, getting a ballot is like winning lotto. I think probably more chance of winning lotto, actually. Which is not quite true, but, that's the turnaround, and that's what we have to have to keep our sport where it is. We have to have people doing it.
What are the numbers like?
If you stand back and look at Fiordland, and we're on conservation land, right. We're on the World Heritage Park, we're on probably the most prime bit of real estate in the world, is that Fiordland National Park. I mean, it's World Heritage. Yeah. It's open tops, big country. The Wapiti experience would be the number one hunting experience in this country tenfold.
Right.
There's not many places you can get out on land and get out in the open tops with a pair of binos and watch bulls running around roughing in the open.
Right.
With antlers over 40 inches long and on conservation land,
Hey, just as a note, I've never hunted wapiti. So there's a confession for the show today. I've never hunted it. It's on my list of things to do. What do they like to hunt? You and I could probably have a really long conversation of about how sika are to hunt, about how red deer to hunt, and the two species are completely different. Tell me, what are the techniques you use, and what is the animal itself like to hunt?
If you look at, I've hunted all species. If you look at the wapiti, endurance.
Right.
You cannot go to Fiordland and hope to get you might fluke a trophy. It's about getting to know the country, the winds, the terrain, and enjoying the cold and wet. But the hunt the wapiti, she's about endurance. You get in there, you get to know your country. You got to. The thing with a wapiti is different to other species of animal. You look at the sika and that. A sika can be juicing heads at 4 years old, 5 years old. A wapiti bull is a 10-year investment. So for an animal to last 10 years in the wild, he's got to have a few smarts about him.
Yeah.
And the problem with wapiti is their smarts don't develop until they're 5 or 6 years old and they start maturing. So they run around bugling their heads off, trying to scrap every little bloody thing they can find out in the open. And it's a bit like probably Queen Street on a Friday night. All the young boys in there fighting over one girl. But so up there, these young boys are getting shot. So these animals to last to an age to mature, as I say, it's a 10-year investment. So they've got to be smart to do that.
Well, like I was once told, the smart ones don't roar much.
Yeah, you're right. I'm sitting here in my room talking to you, looking at a bull that I shot in 2004, and it was the biggest thing shot then in about 40 years.
Right.
And it was a noisy roar. This bull didn't make a sound for the whole 10 days.
Yep. What do they like to eat?
I thought the sika was pretty good eating, but if you get a wap bull with a lot of elk in them, I think it's the best meat you can get. A bit like eating beef, really.
Yeah. Oh, really?
Yeah, it's not gamey. It's not gamey. It's pretty much beefy. Now,
I've heard a little bit that there's, and again, I might be completely off mark here, but is the bloodline getting contaminated? Are you getting a lot of mixing with reds and?
Yeah, we manage, part of the Wapiti Foundations, we manage animal numbers in Fiordland.
Right.
And a part of that is we're taking around 1,000 deer out of the Wapiti area a year doing recovery. We manage that. We manage that for hunters. Hunters pay donations to pay for that. And a part of that is we take, if it's red, it's dead.
Yep.
And we take the lower quality wapiti as well. So the bloodlines are getting better. Antler length has increased amazingly in a short time. If you measure yourself against Mother Nature and how slow she moves. So if hunters can manage to leave them young bulls alone, there's opportunities in there now that I've never seen in my lifetime for taking good heads. Yep.
You've actually started on my next question, but earlier on in the interview you described what the Wapiti Foundation was, and I was about to ask you what they do, and you've alluded to that. What else does the foundation do? So obviously you're involved actively in controlling the bloodline.
Yep. So we've let's take a step back about the foundation. We are the first organisation to probably manage deer in New Zealand on conservation land since Adam was a cowboy, basically. It's like putting man on the moon, and I said before, it's a World Heritage Park too. We're talking high status and conservation values and stuff. So we've achieved that, but a part of that is, when we done it, we took on the management of the Wapiti area. So we're managing the effects the deer have on the environment. So we're managing the environment and we're managing the deer. So that's what the Wapiti Foundation do. Also, we run predator trap lines in Fiordland for blue duck and everything else. We manage the ballot, we manage the area, and basically the Department of Conservation store the holders of the area, but we take on the management in that Wapiti area.
That must have been a mammoth task, because as you've just alluded to, there hasn't been anything like that anywhere else in New Zealand, and you were involved at the early stages.
Yeah. Yes.
You obviously had to go through a lot of red tape, I suspect.
It's probably a question you should ask my wife.
Good answer.
How much time it has taken. That's been a massive hurdle for hunters in New Zealand, and it's been a huge achievement. I mean, I guess it's easy to put the accolades onto us, but I mean that's been achieved through support from hunters right throughout New Zealand. Without that, we wouldn't have been able to achieve it.
Now, if I wanted to get into the ballot, how do I do that?
The body ballot is out on 1st August.
Right.
The 2015 one is out on the 1st of August. If you go to the Wapiti Foundation website, which I think is www.fwf.net.nz, the ballot will be on there on the 1st of August. Also, we're on Facebook. There'll be a bit of information on there,
Okay.
which first time I've ever been on Facebook in my life was to go to the Wapiti Foundation. One has been there for 2 weeks.
Yep.
So it's or just jump on the website. That'll give you all the information you need.
And I have to say, you guys have a very informative website.
Yep.
With plenty of relative information. Is that a project that I see there? You're actually looking for someone to take that on as well.
Yeah, funny you should say that. I was going to try and slip that one in. Yes, we are. We do a huge amount of work. We're a voluntary organisation run by a handful of people who run full-time management programs in Fiordland. And basically now we've got to the point where it's a mammoth job for us to undertake everything we do. So we need somebody to look after our website, to be fair. Yep.
Well, if there's any listeners out there, and a lot of our listeners are net savvy and you're keen, you just send your CV to the Wapiti Foundation, jump on their website and all their contact details are on there. So feel free to do that. And a credit to your organisation, just looking around your website right now, is some of the great sponsors that you've got.
Yeah, and it's probably, the website's probably a bit, it needs quite a bit of work done on at the moment. It's probably missing a few there too. So yes, we certainly have some good sponsors.
Yeah, and hopefully you'll see the Hunting Show logo on there at some point, eh?
Yeah, yes, exactly. Flicker through, we'll put her on.
Fantastic. Now, you've done a lot of Wapiti hunting. Tell us one of your best stories.
Shit. Yeah.
Or just a good one will do.
Righto. What can I tell you? What can I tell you? I'll tell you a good one about a good friend of mine. I haven't carried a rifle in Fiordland since 2004, but since then I've probably spent about a month, a year in there. Yep. And a friend of mine who followed me around a few times, I took sight of a good bull in Fiordland 2 years before, and anyway, we finally drew the block. And we were in there for that stage for a 2-week block, so we're in there for a fortnight, and we're fogged in on the tops, and we couldn't see this bull. We thought he must have been shot or gone to Australia or gone somewhere. Anyway, I went for a bit of a walk, and I found this bull, and he was bugling his head off up in a high basin, alpine basin, absolutely going crazy. So we stalked in on him, and he was holding about a dozen cows, and there was a young bull who came in with about 5 metres of us, come up and challenged him, and he was scraping up there, and I bugled him. He came charging down the face onto us, and my mate, I said, "Get ready, you better shoot him." This bull would have been probably one of the biggest bulls that come out of Fiordland in a lot of years. The bull stood at about 300 metres away. He bugled again. He turned around and trotted down again. And at one stage, we had him in at 30 metres in the thick fog until he moved off. He showed himself. Mate laid down for a shot. Picked his rifle up and walked up to me, and he said, "I can't shoot that guy." He said, "He wasn't my bull. You found him for me, so I don't want to shoot him." Anyway, that bull's never been seen again.
Oh, fantastic.
Yep. Yeah, it was quite a hunting. If he had been there, it was quite a moment.
That's not how I thought that would end.
No, a lot of people don't.
Now, I see you can join the Wapiti Foundation, and the membership is pretty reasonable. Adults are $35, families $45, juniors $5, and you can become a life member as well for $250. That's what Aucklanders pay about a month for a golf membership, you know.
A game, isn't it?
Yeah.
I guess the thing that people need to remember about the Wapiti Foundation is, we have memberships and all that sort of stuff, which is great. We need that support, but we manage the Wapiti area for all hunters, you know, whether you're and I guess that's the problem we have with the foundation is people who are not members get the whole bloody stuff for free anyway. So we encourage people to join. It's help we need, and be involved is what we need even more.
Yeah.
Yeah,
so guys, just muster up and do something.
I tell you, I might as well put another big one there.
Go for it.
What guys want to remember when they go to Fiordland is the weather. What they need is light gear. Go and have a look at some of that bloody Stony Creek Wapiti gear that we designed. The Wapiti coat is brilliant. I absolutely probably had a lot to do with that myself. If you want a good coat, go out and support it.
And this is actually a no bullshit story. I'm in my studio. It's a cold afternoon, and I'm wearing one right now.
Oh, yeah? Oh,
yep.
Right.
I'm not going to put a photo of me online because I'm not looking that fantastic, but genuinely wearing one of those Wapiti Foundation coats. And Brent at Stony Creek is one of your big supporters. I know that. He's on your website, and he's told me himself.
Yep. Oh, brilliant.
So remember that, guys. If you want to find out more about the Wapiti Foundation, go to www.fwf.net.nz or just search them online. They have got a Facebook page, so get active on that. Hey, thank you so much for your interview. Is there anything you'd like to add or anyone you'd like to thank?
I mean, as I said again, is that we're only as good a support we get from the hunters, and it's pretty easy to pat ourselves on the back, but that isn't quite the whole truth of the story. All the hunters in New Zealand that hunt the Wapiti or want to hunt the Wapiti, that's the guys who we should be patting on the back for supporting us and sticking their neck on the line and a bit of faith in us. And that's the guys who need to be patted on the back.
Yeah. Well, thank you so much for your time, and let's do this again. Let's make sure that we catch up in a few months' time, and maybe you've got another story for us, and let us know how that ballot goes.
Sounds great.
If you'd like to find The Hunting Show, visit www.thehuntingshow.co.nz. And I'm looking for any feedback, and I'm also looking for interviews. If you know anyone that you think would be worthy of an interview, or someone that's contributed to New Zealand hunting or to the environment and issues that affect hunters in general, please get in contact with me. But if you do, don't be too cagey. I need to know their contact details, phone number preferably, and also what their background is and why they'd be a good interview. But I'm definitely looking for some of that information. We do have a new website coming, and I know we've said that for a very long time. And I feel a little bit bad, but there's an announcement. I don't feel bad about the announcement, but there is an announcement coming around what that website is and what's going to be on it. So please hold tight. The announcement and that website will be coming along very soon. It's not going to be a great change. It's not going to affect most of you. More often than not, if you'd like to get in contact with us or you'd like to give us feedback, you find us on Facebook, which is facebook.com/The Hunting Show, or you found us on some of the forums around the place. And on that note, there's some of you are so active with our pages, and I'm struggling this month to decide who's going to win that great Gerber prize pack. And remember, there's always next month if you don't win this month. All you have to do is be active with The Hunting Show. That is, send us feedback, give us information, like our posts, share our page, find us, do stuff, listen to us. And you can also add us on Blog Talk Radio. There's an RSS feed on there. That's Blog Talk Radio, and a number of you have actually added us on there, and that's great. iHeartRadio. Go on there. I'm actually keeping a good eye on this. Go on to iHeartRadio, leave a comment about the show. All you've got to do is go to iheart.co.nz, search for The Hunting Show on the top. I sound like it's an infomercial now, but search for The Hunting Show up the top, leave a comment, and listen to it on there. Give us a big old thumbs up. Thank you so much for listening, guys. Good hunting.
Broadcasting from an undisclosed location. from a secret hunting spot known only to him, and the guy who told him about it, and possibly the guy who told him. It's a show all about hunting in New Zealand and around the globe. This is The Hunting Show. Find The Hunting Show on Facebook and Twitter.